Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Racha HaKodash. This video is a video response to Apostle Tahar's response to a response that this guy, as he calls him, so wrong, did. Pretty much trying to say that Herodion in the book of Romans, the 16th chapter and 11th verse, is an Edomite, which is a lie. Just because you see this word Herodion. Now, the word Herodion or the name Herodion, that's just a name. You know, like you have Adam, you have Abel, you have Paul, you have Saul, you have all these different names, Timothy, and their names, some names are more popular than others. And this particular Israelite in the book of Romans 16 just happened to be called by the name of Herodion, which I believe means heroic. It's just a name. It wasn't the name that he had nothing to do with his nationality. That was just a name that he was given. Just like you had a lot of Christians, so-called Christians or Mashiachims back then that had Latin and Greek names. That didn't make them Edomites or Japhites or any other nation. They just happen to have those names. Just like today we have so-called American names or Spanish names. That doesn't make us of those tribes. That's just the name that was put upon us, by our parents. So what I want to do is, because he's trying to say just because a guy got the name Herodion, that's he's an Edomite. Well, even when you look up and you go to Romans, the 16th chapter, right, and the 11th verse. And you look up, well, I'll just read it. Salute Herodion, my kinsman, greet them that be of the household of Narcissus, which are in the Lord. When you go to the name Herodion, it gives you, what the hell did I do? When you go to the name Herodion, I hit the wrong thing. Oh, it says Herodion, and it says Herodion heroic, a certain Christian. It doesn't say nothing about an Edomite. Even these devils that did the Blue Letter Bible know that he's not an Edomite. Now let's look up the word Herod, see if that pops up. Matthew 2:1, Herod, right? Now let's go to Herod. Herodes, Herod, heroic, the name of a royal family that flourished among the Jews in the times of the anointed and the apostles. Herod the Great was the son of Antipater of Idumea. See, it said nothing of the sort, and you could read the rest of it, And they said nothing of the sort of this guy, this other Herodion being a Edomite. Let's go back to it. One more. Right here, Romans 16:11. Salute Herodion, my kinsman. And Paul went further to call him his kinsman. And when you go there, like you said, Herodion, heroic, a certain Christian. It's just a name that was put upon him. It's just like when you go to Genesis, the 5th chapter, this is the lineage of the chosen or the lineage of the righteous seed of Adam. Genesis 5:1. This is the book of generation of Adam, meaning Adam's lineage. In the day that the Most High created man, in the likeness of the Most High made he him. Male and female created he them and blessed them and called their name Adam in the day when they were created. And Adam lived 130 years and begat a son in his own likeness, excuse me, after his image, and called his name Seth. And the days of Adam after he had begotten Seth were 800 years, and he begat sons and daughters. And all the days that Adam lived were 930 years, and he died. And then it goes on to Seth's sons, and Enos' sons, and so on and so forth. And as you read further down, over here in Genesis 5:18, it says, and Jared lived 162 years, and he begot Enoch. Okay, now let's deal with that. He said he begot Enoch, right? Now when you go to Genesis 4:1, this is I'm sorry, not 4:1, but when you read further down in Genesis 4, this is Cain's lineage, the lineage of the wicked. All right, excuse me. This is Cain's lineage, the lineage of the wicked. And it goes on to give the history of what happened between Cain and Abel, how he slew his brother, and how the Most High put a curse on him, put leprosy on him and everything. And he drove him out into the eastward in Eden, which was eastward in on the earth, right? And it goes on to say, Genesis 4 and 16, and Cain went out from the presence of the Lord and dwelt in the land of Nod on the east of Eden. And Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bare Enoch. So you mean to tell me that because this Enoch, Cain called his son Enoch before Enoch was actually even born, the actual Enoch that we know that was translated. So this is the righteous lineage, and Jared lived 162 years and begot Enoch. And then this is the wicked lineage, and Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bare Enoch. So there's two different children, two different lineages, one righteous, one wicked, and they were both called Enoch. So that doesn't mean that because this man here was called Enoch, that he was a descendant of a Cain, or he was a Cainite, or of the wicked. No, he was of the righteous lineage of Adam. This man was of the wicked lineage of Adam, but they both happened to have the same name, Enoch. All right? And we know the story of Enoch, how he got translated, and it tells you that in this same chapter here, But this Enoch he continued on and to have children, and his children, look, and unto Enoch was born Irad, and Irad begat Mahujael. So he had other children that were of that wicked line, but he just happened to have the same name. Well, it's the same case with here in Romans the 16th chapter. This man just happens to have a name of the Edomites, but he's not an Edomite. He's an Israelite that just had on the name Herodion. And you had Edomites back then that were called Narcissus. You had Edomites back then that were called Hermes, like Hermes here. You had Edomites back then that were called Nereus and Olympus and all of that. They all had these names. But these particular people here in Romans the 16th chapter are Israelites that happen to have happen to have Greek and Latin names. That's it. Now let's read on. Jump down. It says, and Jared lived after he begot Enoch 800 years and begot sons and daughters. Now let's jump to the 26th verse. And Methuselah lived after he begot Lamech 782 years and begot sons and daughters. Now let's go to Genesis 4 and 18. It says, and unto Enoch was born Irad, and Irad begot Mahujael, and Mahujael begot Methuselah, and Methuselah begot what? Lamech. So this is another instance where you have two different people that have the same name. Here you go, Genesis 5:26. This is of the lineage of the righteous, Adam, right? And this is of the lineage of the wicked, Cain. Now let's read that again. And Methuselah lived after he begot Lamech 782 years and begot sons and daughters. So Methuselah lived 187 years and begot Lamech. All right. And unto Enoch, which is the son of Cain, was born Irad, and Irad begat Mahujael, and Mahujael begat Methuselah, and Methuselah begat Lamech. So they had the same exact name. Now let's see what if they Lamech, all right, Lamech, powerful, the fifth lineal descendant from Cain, husband of Adah and Zillah, father of sons Jabal, Jubal, and Tubal Cain, and daughter Naamah, father of Noah. See, and even Noah's father was named Lamech. Matter of fact, let's get that real quick. That's in the book of Genesis, the 11th chapter. Maybe it's written a different way. Oh no, okay, it's in the same chapter. It's in the same. Matter of fact, we were reading. That was the father of Noah. This is Genesis 5 and Genesis 4. Okay, that's Genesis 4. This is Genesis 5. Make sons and daughters, and those Lamech lived 180 years. He begot sons, and he called them. Okay, yeah. So this is Lamech. I knew Lamech. Noah's father was named Lamech. So this is the Lamech, Noah's father. See, so even Noah's father was named Lamech, and this guy was named Lamech in Genesis 4:18, or in 4, yeah, 18, and 4:18, you know. And this particular person, they just happen to have the same name, you know. That doesn't mean that they are the same people, that they are descendant of the same lineage, you know. Even though they both go back to Adam, because Adam's son was Cain, but there was a separation. One line was righteous and the other line was wicked. The same thing with Jacob and Esau. You know, they came out of Isaac. One line was righteous and one line was wicked. You know, you're gonna have certain names. There's an Israelite in the book. I believe it's in Esther, or no, Ezra, and his name is called Elam. That doesn't mean he's an Elamite. You know, he was called Elam. You know, the children of Elam, 1,250 and this goes back, and he's an Israelite, but he just happens to have the name Elam. But what does that mean? Does that mean that he's a heathen? No, that just means that he just happened to have a name that somebody of another nation had, and that's all it is. You know, it's just like today. Today you have Israelites that have English names, Spanish names, French names, but does that make them of those nations? No, they're still Israelites. It's just basically either two things: either it's ignorance, or it's deception at its worst. I was gonna say at its finest, but at its worst, deception at its worst. Because if this is the best they got, then this is some weak ass shit. Like I put a comment on Apostle Tahar's video, easy work. You know, right here, easy work. You know. All right, so with that, you know, that's been my response to the Elder Apostle Tahar's video that he did a response on to this guy's so wrong, as he calls him. And I hope with that, brothers have been edified. To the next time I say shalom.